Good morning, grade 9s. Welcome to another lesson of natural sciences. I will go off video soon, but I just wanted us to actually talk about yesterday. Yesterday, I explained to you that we've got two types of cells, and it's an animal cell and a plant cell. We also spoke about simple cells, where we said the DNA is found in the cytoplasm. We also discussed the cytoplasm as a jelly-like substance that is found inside the cell. So it has most of organelles suspended in it. So today I will be continuing with our revision, which is our last lesson for first term revision. So I would like you to continue joining me, and I will be off the video. I will come back to take the questions, grade 9s. Once again, thank you for joining us. Trying to get to the next slide. Hope you bear with me. There's a problem with our connection. Okay, as I explained yesterday, or I told you yesterday, that my name is Kosani Mbata, and you can find me on Twitter at MbataX or on Instagram. And to those who did send their questions yesterday, I hope you've received your answers already. So please do actually continue sending me those messages, direct message me. So today we are looking at the microscope as the first part of our lesson. So we say that a microscope is an instrument that we use to see things that we cannot see with our naked eyes. So it is an instrument that contains one or more magnifying lenses. It also allows us to look at things that are too small to be seen with the naked eyes. Then we've got types of microscopes. We've got a compound microscope, a light microscope, and an electron microscope. So we performed during first term a wet mount slide, obviously to see under microscope. Those of you who have access to microscopes, they did their practical. And then we say cells come in many different shapes and sizes. So organisms are made up of different number of cells. Remember yesterday we discussed the type of cells that we were discussing. We also said others are multicellular organisms, and then others are unicellular organisms. I even made an example with a bacteria. So here they say a bacteria consists of a single cell. All the processes are carried out within one cell. Since they have one cell, are called unicellular organisms. So if you can remember yesterday, I said everything that we can see under the microscope, we say it is a microscopic organism. Then microscopic organisms such as humans are made up of thousands of cells. They are called multicellular organisms. So groups of cells specialize so that they are able to perform a specific function. So for a function to be carried out in multicellular organisms, thousands and thousands of cells need to come together, and then they carry out that function. Each specialized group of cells will have the same shape and structure. So now all these cells, they will be of the same community, and they will have the same purpose so that they can carry out a certain function. So when we're talking about multicellular organisms. So for example, it will be your muscle cells. So we know that muscles, we use them for contraction and relaxation. So tissue and organs and systems, how do we get to this? So we've got cells, and then cells, a group of cells will form a tissue, and a group of tissue will form an organ, and then a group of organs will form a system, and then we have an organism. So body systems is a group of organs working together to perform a particular function. if you can, I'm not sure if my diagram there is clear, but we've got human body systems. In a human body system, we find a digestive system, a cardiovascular system, integumentary system, respiratory system, endocrine system, reproductive system, excretory system, musculoskeletal system, and nervous system, not leaving out immune system. So all these systems, they have cells that became tissues, and then those tissues became into organs, and then they have the same purpose, and then we say it is a system. So grade 9s, don't forget that we are moving from a cell to a tissue, from a tissue to an organ, from an organ to a system, and then we have an organism. So now I want us to look at the digestive system. So what is a digestive system? A digestive system obviously breaks down food into dissolved nutrients that can be absorbed into the blood streams and transported to the cells throughout the body. So now when we eat, then this process is the one that is going to do the job. In digestive system, we have ingestion, digestion, absorption, and egestion. So when you're talking about ingestion, is the intake of food by biting, chewing, and swallowing. So you're taking food inside so that you can obviously ingest it. You have to take it inside. Then you digest it. Once it goes down to the stomach, and then you will have the digestion process where there's mechanical and chemical processes that convert insoluble food into soluble nutrients. Then once that process is done, we get absorption. So absorption occurs when the soluble nutrients are taken up by the blood streams. And then whatever is not going to be used by the body, we move to egestion. So when egestion takes place, obviously it's a removal of unwanted things by the body, and then it occurs when undigested food materials called feces are passed out of the body. And then the health issues now, we're going to look at the health issues of the digestive system. So in the health issues of the digestive system, you've got your ulcers, you've got your anorexia, you've got your diarrhea, you've got your liver cirrhosis. So when you're looking at the systems grade 9, please know what is the system is about. And then after that, you must also know what is the health issue that the digestive system or any other system will have for your test purposes. I'm sure you saw your first term question paper. I will also put some of the question papers in our link. Our support staff is working on that. So you need to follow us on www.africateengigs.co.za and then go to natural science link grade 9, and then you'll find some question papers and see how these questions are asked. And then you've got a circulatory system. So a circulatory system transports substances around the body. So we talk about blood that carries nutrients and oxygen to cells and remove waste product from cells. So when you're looking at this, what you call a circulatory system, you're talking about two main processes. You're talking about circulating blood between the heart and the lungs, and circulating blood between the heart and the rest of the body. So remember that the heart is the engine of the human body. So all the processes go through there. So the main components of the circulatory system is the heart, blood vessels, and the blood itself. So when you're looking at the heart, what is a heart? Is a muscular organ that pumps blood around the body. Blood vessels transport blood away from the heart, and that are called arteries. Grade 9s, I will be taking your questions a bit later on in this lesson. Can you just please go through the lesson? Jesse, I see your hand is up. I will take the questions during the second part of the lesson. And then we say arteries branch into tiny blood vessels called capillaries. So we're still talking about how what you call the circulatory system works in your body. And then we've got veins that are the blood vessels that carry that transport blood towards the heart. Then when you're looking at health issues, grade 9 for circulatory system, you're gonna have a high blood pressure, a heart attack, and a stroke. These things are the health issues. They happen if the system is interrupted. It is not working as it should be. Then we get health issues. Remember that we've already looked at them at the digestive system, and then we're also now looking at the health issues for circulatory system. I hope you are taking notes and you are jotting down your questions for our question and answer. However, at the beginning of the lesson, I also indicated my social media accounts where you can obviously DM me your questions, and I will be gladly to assist you in those questions. Then let us look at the respiratory system. If we're looking at the respiratory system, what is the function of the respiratory system? A function of a respiratory system, it is responsible for supplying oxygen to the body and for removing carbon dioxide. So now you see the link between our circulatory system, our digestive system, and respiratory system. When we're looking at the digestive system, we said it obviously where the nutrients get absorbed. You eat food, and then food goes into your stomach, and then it gets broken down. Thereafter, your nutrients get absorbed, and then during the absorption process, and then whatever the body doesn't need, it will go through digestion, where you're taking out what is not needed by the body. And then those nutrients obviously reach at different parts of the body through circulatory system. So when the blood is flowing, it carries oxygen, it carries nutrients to where it is needed. And then now we're looking at the respiratory system when we're looking about how the oxygen reach different parts of the body, and then how is carbon dioxide released of the body. Remember that we do not need too much CO2 or carbon dioxide in our bodies. And then we say we've got main processes of respiratory system. It's breathing, gaseous exchange, and respiration. Breathing, gaseous exchange, and respiration, grade 9s. These three processes are not the same. When we're talking about breathing, it consists of two processes, which is inhalation, taking in of breath, and then exhalation, releasing breath out, right? Then when we're talking about gaseous exchange now, gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli of the lungs, where each alveolus is surrounded by blood capillaries. So we have already discussed the capillaries. So now they say oxygen diffuses through the walls of the capillary and into the blood, and carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood into the lungs. So now we need to know, what is this diffuses? What do we mean when they say diffuses? So let us look, what is diffusion, grade 9s? So we say diffusion is the movement of molecules from an area where they are high in concentration to an area where they are in a low concentration. So the blood transports oxygen to the rest of the body. The oxygen diffuses from the blood into the cell. So that means the cell has less oxygen and the blood have more oxygen. That's why oxygen will move from the blood into the cell. So now what the cell has, it's CO2. So the cell, the CO2 will be leaving the cell into the blood, and then it will be pumped, so on and so forth, grade 9s. Then all living cells use oxygen to convert glucose into energy. So we need energy, right? So now we're going, that's why it is so important for us to have oxygen. So carbon dioxide water, and energy are released as products. Cells use the energy to do their work. We all know that energy is the ability to do work. So that's why we need energy. For us to function, we need energy. The respiratory system supplies cells with oxygen and removes the waste product carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide is the byproduct that needs to be removed. And then grade 9, health issues in relation to respiratory system. It's asthma, lung cancer, bronchitis, and asbestosis. So asthma is a disorder that causes the airways of the lungs to swell and narrow. So now they become small, you cannot breathe properly, and then you will be diagnosed with asthma, and then you will need pumps to actually now reduce the inflammatory in your lungs or in your airways so that you can breathe properly. And then lung cancer is a disease where the epithelial cells grow uncontrollably. So we know that lung cancer is an abnormal growth of cells. So if they say you've got a certain cancer, you know that there's an abnormality there. So now they say lung cancer is a disease where the epithelial cells grow uncontrollably. And then we've got bronchitis, which is an inflammation or swelling of the bronchial tubes. And then asbestosis is a disease caused by asbestos fibers entering the lungs during inhalation. So asbestos is some of material that is used to roof houses, and then this can also cause this health issue into your respiratory system. I hope grade 9 are still with me there. And then remember that we need to stay at home. That's why you are using this, what you call, opportunity to teach online. So if you are looking at COVID-19 and respiratory system, I hope you can connect the dots. Please stay at home. And then let us look at the musculoskeletal system. When you're looking at the musculoskeletal system, we're looking at a system that protects the body. It also provides support and enables movement. So for you to be able to sit up or walk or run, it is because of musculoskeletal system. So it keeps the body upright. Bones need muscle to move. So now a muscle is also a system that obviously goes with locomotion. How you're going to move, how you're going to sit, then it is all made possible by the system, which is known as musculoskeletal system. Then the main process, obviously a musculoskeletal system, I've said that it includes bone and it includes muscle. So for bones to be able to move, you need muscle. And then the main process is contraction and relaxation of muscle, movement, and locomotion. Muscles are made up of cells called muscle fibers. The brain sends messages to the muscles to contract or to relax. The main components of the musculoskeletal system is muscles, bones, cartilage, tendons, and ligaments. So bones are attached to the bones by means of ligaments. So for bones and to move like your hand, to be able to flex and everything, you need ligaments. So they say ligaments are flexible and prevent dislocation of bones. So for your bones to be intact and to be able to move, you need ligaments. So locomotion, as I've explained to you, that locomotion is the ability to move from place to place. Locomotion, motion. So you need to have movement, and it is made possible by musculoskeletal system. What are the health issues concerning the musculoskeletal system? It's rickets and arthritis, also osteoporosis. So rickets is a disease which leads to the softening and weakening of the bones in the arms, legs, pelvis, and spine in young children. So if you go to the ghetto, they will say, oh, they refer to rickets as amagwegwe, yeah, or brackets. But when you've got the bout legs, and then that will be one of the reasons. And then you have arthritis, which is caused by inflammation in the joints. Puti, I will take the questions in a bit. I recognize you. And then when our parents say they've got arthritis, so now we know that also there's an inflammation in the joints there by the cartilage. So it is painful. So because there's inflammation. And then osteoporosis is a disease where bones become porous and brittle. So osteoporosis is mostly caused by a lack of calcium. So, and then it obviously can be prevented by taking enough calcium. And then we've got metabolism. Metabolism this is excretory system now. We're looking at the excretory system. We're done with the musculoskeletal system. And then now we're looking at excretory system. Excretory system talks of metabolism. Metabolism contains of two parts, which is catabolism and anabolism. So you can say anabolism plus catabolism equals to metabolism. So obviously anabolism is the building up process when you are still taking food in, and then you consuming those nutrients, and then how they get absorbed, all those processes that we discussed in the digestive system. And then catabolism, how are those nutrients cut down to obviously flow through the body to where they are needed, and then the digestion process. Ne? I hope you are following grade 9s. When you're talking about metabolism, we're talking about anabolic process and catabolic process, and then they give you metabolism. And then I explained to you that ana is the building up process, kata is the breaking down process. Then we've got the waste products which are produced during this reaction need to be removed from the body. And then excretion, and then osmoregulation, main processes of excretory system, it's filtration, absorption, diffusion, and excretion. And then the structures obviously are kidney, bladder, and ureter. So when we're talking about filtration, guys, what are we talking about, grade 9? When we're talking about filtration, we're talking about blood with waste product that enters the kidneys, and small specialized bodies in the kidney act as filters. Filters separate the waste product and a part of the water from the blood. So now, why is filtration important? So whatever that goes to our kidneys is not all waste. There's some the nutrients that they can still be used by the body. So now that's why we're going to have filtration there. So they say filtrate waste product and excess water. So we call whatever is waste there, the waste product and excess, we call it a filtrate. Absorption. Remember that we spoke of absorption in the digestive system. Then now we're talking about absorption again. So most of our things in the body needs to be absorbed. When we eat, we need to be absorbed. When we drink water, absorption needs to take place. Are we clear on that one? So they say absorption, the useful substances which are still in the filtrate, such as water, glucose, amino acids, get absorbed from the tubes with filtrate back into the blood. Then remember that we spoke of blood in the circulatory system, that it obviously rotates, and then you need to actually now to know which one gets used, which one gets taken off. Then diffusion, I did explain that diffusion, when substances move from a level of higher concentration to a level of lower concentration. So they say diffusion there in the in the excretory system. The waste products which are still in the blood diffuse from the blood into the small tubes with filtrate. So that we are saying if the nutrients will move, if there's more nutrients in the filtrate, they will have to move to the blood bag so that they will be reused in the body. And then excretion, once the three processes have been completed, then the fluid in the tubule is called urine. So that's a waste, that's a byproduct. That's what needs to be excreted from your body. So health issues when we're looking at excretory system. Health issues when you're looking at excretory system will be kidney failure. What is a kidney failure? It's a sudden loss of the kidneys to remove waste and concentrate urine without losing electrolytes. We'll be with you, James, in a short time. So when you're looking at absorption, we said everything needs to be absorbed there by in fact, not everything, the filtrate needs to be absorbed in the small tubules there. We said the absorption of glucose amino acid needs to be absorbed there by the tubes with filtrates so that they can be reused. But if you can no longer do that, and then you're going to have a kidney failure, that means you're having a kidney failure, and then you are going to actually now have a problem because you cannot take out the waste product. That means your body will be reabsorbing will be reabsorbing the waste. And then your body now will be intoxicated with the waste that should have been filtered out. And then you're going to have a bladder infection again as a health issue for excretory system. So when you're looking at a bladder, we're looking at when we're looking at a bladder infection, we're looking at they are caused by a bacteria that infect urinary tract. So you're gonna have a problem there. I'm hoping you're with me. So they say kidney stones are solid deposits of minerals and salts that form in the kidneys. So we know that you're gonna have kidney failure, bladder infections, and kidney stones. Those are health issues related to excretory system. We've got a nervous system. When we're looking at a nervous system receives and helps the body respond to stimuli. I hope you see the link that each system depends to another system in your body so that they can carry out a certain goal. Remember that now, if your musculoskeletal system is not working, therefore that means your nervous system will also be disturbed. For example, because now they are saying nervous system receives and helps the body to respond to stimuli. So now if you were to walk, and then the car is coming your way, and then you need to run away from the car, but your locomotion is not as tight. So now there is a car coming, which is a stimuli now, and then now you need to run, but you can't run. So you see now the nervous system would be sending the information to say you need to run now, and you are not able to run. So that will be disturbed now. So let us look at the definition of a stimulus. They say a stimulus is a change in the environment that causes a reaction in a living organism. So if the environment changes, if you need to change environment because it's cold and everything, that's because of your nervous system. If it's cold, you need to take on a jersey. The stimuli has changed, and then now the message has been sent to your body that, oh, I need to put on a jersey. So then they say the nervous system includes brain, spinal cord, nerves, ears, nose, eyes, skin, and tongue. We have receptors and impulses. What are receptors and impulses? The sense organs have specific cells that detect stimuli in the environment. So now these are called receptors. So now your skin, it will be your receptor. It's the one to receive the message that the weather has changed. Now it's cold or it's hot. Then the receptors will convert the receptors convert the stimuli. Remember, she said a stimuli is the change in the external environment. Then now the receptors get that stimuli, and then the stimuli gets changed into impulse. What is an impulse? It's a message. So they say impulses are signals that travels along the nerve cells called neuron. So impulses, you can say, a message, or is a message that obviously travel along the nerve cells, and those nerve cells are called neurons. The health issues when we're looking at nervous system, it's deafness, blindness, short-sightedness, and drugs and alcohol to present. So now I want us to look at all these health issues. When you're looking at these health issues, when you're talking about deafness, occurs when a person, Katura, I will be with you in the next 10 minutes. I will be taking your questions. Deafness occurs when a person has partial or complete hearing loss. Then blindness occurs when a person has a complete loss of sight. Then short-sightedness, you can only see things in a closer range. You cannot see things that are far. Then you have a short sight. And then drugs and alcohol present, they are also part of the health issues when we're looking at the nervous system. When we're talking about the nervous system health issues, how does drugs and alcohol affect the transmission of impulses from the nerve cell to nerve cell in the brain? Remember now, we say there's no drinking and driving, don't do drugs and all that, because alcohol is a central nervous system to present, which means that it slows down the response of the nervous system. That's why I said drugs and alcohol, because it is the drugs and alcohol are present, and then they obviously slow down how you respond in consumption. When you have consumed alcohol or taken drugs, your nervous system is compromised. Your nervous system is compromised. Reproductive system. So reproductive system produces sex cells for this continuation of the species. We've got male, which produce sperm cells, and then we've got females also producing egg cells. The eggs need to fuse to ensure that new babies are born. So the egg cell and these eggs, both a sperm cell and then the egg cell, need to fuse to ensure that new babies are born. Main components are testes, ovaries, and uterus. There is the main process that is obviously going through the reproductive system. First step, obviously, we're gonna have the man places his penis inside the woman's vagina, and then this is called copulation or sexual intercourse. Step 2, the penis releases sperm cells into the vagina of the womb. This is called ejaculation. Once a month egg and egg cell is released into a woman's fallopian tubes. This is called ovulation. Some of the sperm cells swim into the fallopian tubes. Or If fertilization does not take place, the lining of the uterus is released through the vagina. This is called menstruation. But if the sperm fuses with an egg, then once a sperm cell fuses with the egg cell, this is called fertilization. So now, if an egg did not fuse with with a sperm, we will have menstruation. But if it fertilizes, if a sperm fuses with an egg, we've got fertilization. Please take this term into consideration, grade 9s, for your test or exam where they say give the correct biological term. That's when you will need these terms. You can look at the diagram. I'm now on step 5. The fertilized egg divides into more and more cells. This is called cell division. Cell division continues, more and more cells are formed. This is called growth. The fertilized egg moves from the tubes down to the uterus, where it attaches itself to the lining of the uterus, and this is called implantation. The woman is now pregnant. The baby grows in the uterus. So now we say the woman is pregnant once the fertilized egg reaches the stage of implantation. Then the baby is born after 42 weeks of pregnancy. The baby grows and eventually develops into an adult, and this is called maturation. The adult can reproduce. Only adults can reproduce, grade 9s. Only adults can reproduce or should produce. Ne? So you need to know this cycle or this process, how it works from 1 till 8, grade 9, taking into consideration copulation, ejaculation, ovulation, fertilization, or menstruation. So if the phase of menstruation is reached, that means we do not go to cell division. So it will have to go back and start again from 1. But if the egg is fertilized, and then it will continue to cell division, growth, implantation, and maturation. I hope you are together, grade 9s. I will be taking your questions just now. So the main components of the ovaries, I did say to you that we have testes, ovaries, uterus, and then the main processes is copulation and ejaculation, ovulation and menstruation, and then infertility. Those are the health issues. We've got infertility. A person is unable to produce an offspring or baby. So if you are infertile, that means you cannot reproduce. Then we've got fetal alcohol syndrome, is a birth defect caused by alcohol consumption during pregnancy. So now you do not have to take alcohol when you are pregnant. Then we've got also STDs. So when you're talking about STDs, we all know that STDs are sexually transmitted diseases, which involve the transmission of infections, infectious organisms such as a bacteria and virus between sex partners. So we need to do what you call protected sex if you're not sure if a person has a STD or not. And then we are done with term 1 revision. Thank you so much. You're now ready for term 2. You know the difference between systems, organ versus tissue, tissue versus cell. What is the function of the cell? I'm asking you, grade 9. Ask yourself, what is the function of the cell? So you also know what is the difference between nucleus and DNA. So now a nucleus is an organelle that holds DNA, but other cells like simple cells and bacteria, they do not have nucleus, so the DNA is found in the cytoplasm. So you also need to know difference between unicellular organisms and multicellular organism, grade 9. And then test your knowledge now. States the important function of the respiratory system. Give 3 sense organs in the human body. How many systems do we have? How many systems did we discuss today, grade 9s? What is the most important function of the reproductive system? We just talked about it now. Any questions, grade 9? Please, don't just follow me or add me, but please DM me your questions. I'm more interested in your DMs so that I can interact with you. Remember, you can find me on Twitter at MbataX, or you can find me on Instagram at XKIM. Then remember to DM me your message, your questions. You DM me your questions, and you can also find slides at www.africateamgeeks.co.za. That's where you can find these slides, and this link will take you to more resources concerning the systems that we're doing or revising today. Please join us on the next lesson. We'll discuss elements and compounds. Yes, that is chemistry. Please bring questions. Remember to use the hashtag provided to you. And grade 9s, please answer those. Please share those questions via DM. We have unfortunately ran out of time, but for more information, contact at Africa Teen Geeks or follow us on social media at Africa Teen Geeks, at Aziora, at DBE, at Basic Department of Education, South Africa. Then you can hashtag Sasol Foundation or at Sasol SA, and don't forget to hashtag us at STEM Champions. I thank you, grade 9s.